What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the TheResource and a special edition with the National Real Estate Post with our good friend Brian Stevens. So much has happened this week, man. I just wanted to get you on live TV and talk about just the last week. So it's Amazon and Realogy, and there's changes with the Northwest MLS to commissions, and now the government's apparently looking into monopolies. You've been on this since day one. Distill this all down for us, push all the noise out, tell us lenders and us realtors what we should really be concerned with, because a lot just happened over the last 7 days.
Well, I mean, it's what we've been talking about for quite a while. And there was a certain inevitability to this taking place. Essentially, as we just spoke about a couple of moments ago, we saw the appraisers lose their independence post HVCC in 2008 or 9. We had our NMLS licensing in the mortgage industry, which decimated our numbers there. And right now we're seeing it happen with the real estate industry. So what started as a class action antitrust lawsuit against these real estate agents, stating they were colluding to keep their commissions high. They were colluding with their multiple listing systems. They're colluding with NAR in order to keep their commissions disproportionately high. And what we were doing is looking at other markets and other countries and other industries and saying, see, everything else has come down. The only reason why real estate agents are getting a 6% commission is because of collusion. And because of that, they're facing a lawsuit. Now, I can't help but think this lawsuit is coming from, it's spawned from who's competing against the real estate agents right now, these iBuying platforms. In fact, I read an article from the San Francisco Chronicle talking about how tech industries have done this in other industries, that they actually like the type of oversight. You know, if you look at when Google bought YouTube, well, right after Google bought YouTube, they hired Chris Dodd of Dodd-Frank when he was a retired senator to lobby for the the Motion Picture Association of America to get copyrights as a huge issue on a lot of these streaming platforms. So you saw that YouTube was complaining about that they didn't have anything to do with the copyright. Yet what it ultimately did is it killed any other platform that competed against YouTube. We saw the same thing with MySpace and Facebook. We saw the same thing with PayPal. So what's happening in the real estate industry with these tech company disruptors coming in, attacking real estate agents, what they do, this blueprint has been set out before. We've already seen it. We know where it's coming from. And quite frankly, they're winning right now. So we saw our numbers get decimated as mortgage loan officers. We saw it with the appraisal industry. And just right now, it's a real estate agent's turn.
So you follow this way more than I have. When I read the original lawsuit, it sounded like the gentleman felt like he was forced into paying commissions on both sides, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's weird to me to kind of play devil's advocate for realtors, if that's true and that's case law and that sets precedents, wouldn't that apply to other industries? So now I go buy a car and I say, well, I want to see that salesman's commission on the car. I was forced to pay his commission. Isn't that the same thing?
No, here's if me and you were to be in a lawsuit with each other, one of us is the plaintiff and one of us is the defendant. If I was suing you, you would get representation and I would have representation. I wouldn't ask you to pay for my representation to sue you. So you would pay for your own representation. Right. So what's being alleged right now is the listing agent, the seller of a property is paying for the representation of both the plaintiff and the defendant. That's what's being alleged right now. And they're saying that's not right. That's why we're seeing with the Northwest multiple listing system, what they're doing right now is they're taking a preemptive swing at what a settlement is going to be down the road. And I think you're going to see more multiple listing systems doing this. Is what they're saying is they're going to, when a real estate agent goes and signs a listing agreement, they're going to have much more paperwork and it's going to be much more apparent that that person who is selling the property is going to be paying for the representation of the person who is buying that property. And they're also going to make it to where the person who is getting their house or the person who's listing their house with a real estate agent doesn't necessarily have to pay for the representation of the buyer. Now, we both know that a real estate agent's going to go on that listing and saying, if you don't pay for the buyer's representation, 1.5%, 2.5%, people aren't going to show your house. I mean, we know this is what's going on now, and this is what's going to happen in the future. But what it's going to do is bring to light just how much real estate agents are making on transactions. So we have an area like where I live outside of San Francisco and where you live outside of Seattle. Well, my mother-in-law just sold her house up in Seattle, paid 6%. The house sold in one day. It was a bidding war. And so did we really have to pay $55,000 in commissions for 2 real estate agents to fill out a contract that fills out like a Mad Lib? Is that reasonable? Seriously, I here state the buyer, you state the seller. I mean, is it really reasonable compensation for a house that's on the market for one day that sells for $800,000 to pay real estate agents $50,000?
So let's just, for the sake of the debate, I'll play devil's advocate. And someone could say, well, she wasn't forced to sign. She could have said, hey, I would like to sell and list this house with 4% commission. Now, to your point, she may have been blackballed and the house may have not been shown to as many realtors. But I feel like in the case with the original lawsuit, the guy didn't have, he ended up paying whatever the house was worth, what he felt it was worth. And that's where this thing gets money. You're talking about representation, and I think that's going to be a much bigger issue moving forward. I look at it like anything else. We're selling a thing. In this case, it's a house. So the cost, whatever, let's call it a $200,000 purchase price, that's what it costs to sell this thing, just like if it were a car. Now, it gets muddy when you say representation, because I think that's where this is going to go. And I fear that there's going to be like a flat fee representation for a buyer now because of all this thing. So I don't know. Nobody was forced into any of those.
Just real quickly. So this is what's being alleged. I don't necessarily agree with it, but this is the reason they're going to win. They're going to take that component of a real estate agent's commission, put it in a vacuum, and they're going to win on that point. They absolutely are going to win.
Right.
There's a reason why there's 9 law firms that are on board now. It's not 1, it's 9. There's a reason why the law firm that sued Philip Morris in the biggest class action settlement in the history of the country has jumped onto this, because they're going to win. And we're not seeing anything from NAR. We're not seeing anything from CAR. We're not seeing anything from...
Why is that? Where's NAR in all this?
I don't know. I mean, it's weird. They're talking about how the benefits of having a puppy when you buy a house. Meanwhile, Genghis Khan and the hordes are coming over the hill and going to slaughter the real estate industry. Now, here's my point, Ryan. This is why the fix is in. So it's being alleged that real estate agents are charging 6% commission. That's what's being alleged. The average commission for a real estate agent right now in the United States is 5.08%. And in fact, if you look at the last 20 years of what real estate agents have been paid, it's gone from 6 to 5, and it's kind of fluctuated, and it hasn't just come down, it's gone up and down. Well, why is that? Because real estate agents have always negotiated their commission. They've always done this. In hot markets, commissions come down. In slow markets, commissions go up. So it's done this. So we know right now from the past 20 years of how real estate agents get paid that they don't have a straight 6% yet. That's what's being alleged, and that's how we know the fix is in. Now, is 6% too much? Well, look at Sotheby's. Look at Christie's. If you're going to sell a painting for $90 million, there's some stupid dog balloon artist that literally just sold for $94 million. It's a balloon dog. That really just happened. The person who bought it, ironically enough, is Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury's father, bought it as a gift for one of his friends. Must be nice. Anyways, when you purchase a $94 million balloon dog through Sotheby's, you're going to pay commissions of 10%. So 6%, 5% is not unreasonable. And I also want you to think about this. This is a real bugaboo in this whole thing. So if real estate agents are charging too much money right now, then we must have a cheaper, better alternative. And that's where these disruptor tech companies come in and fill the void that's going to be left by real estate agents. So a seller, instead of going to an agent, is going to go to a tech-based company who's now selling real estate, but oops, they're charging more than real estate agents. So if you look at Open Door, if you look at OfferPad, they're charging 7.5%. If you look at Zillow, they're charging 7%. But if you look at these offers, it's not just a 7.5% and 7%, but they've got fees and names and charges that I have never heard in my 25 years in real estate that equal the 7.5%. So in fact, the disrupting tech alternative, which we're being fed right now, is really more like 15%. And that's a problem, and that's how we know the fix is in.
So help me, what's wrong with me? I'm not even comfortable having the conversation talking about margins and what people charge. Maybe I'm too much of a capitalist and believe too much in the free market, but I don't care. I don't care to see Chevron's margins or to see what a person charged me in commission. If I'm not comfortable paying whatever it costs for a car, a gallon of gas, or a house, then I'm not going to pay it. But I don't know. I don't know that.
Hold on.
Does that make me a bad person? I don't think we should be talking about what they make. It doesn't matter. And if we do, then it has to be applied to every industry across the board.
We are only talking about what real estate agents make. We're not talking about what these tech company disruptors are making. And I'm a capitalist just like you, and I'm going to look at what I'm paying for a service or a fee or an item, and I'm either going to be okay with it or not okay with it.
Right.
The problem is with a lot of these companies like OfferPad and Open Door, when they go to purchase a house, what they're doing is they're giving you misleading comps as to the value of that house, and it's disproportionately low. So you're not just buying in the free market, you're being misled to believe that your asset is actually worth less than what it truly is.
Right.
That's theft, and I'm not okay with that.
Right.
And what's happening, it's like politics right now. If you just saw this Mueller investigation, it was like, okay, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy. We see this in politics all the time. If you want to win, you're going to tell somebody how great you are. Certainly that's your job. But what we also do is I'm going to tell you how bad that other guy is.
Yeah.
So we have a two-pronged approach. I'm great, you're bad. And what these tech companies are doing is just the same thing. They're saying, we are great. Technology is improving the real estate industry. And oh, by the way, these real estate agents are bad. What they're failing to tell you is they are charging more, and they're misleading you with a comparative analysis on your property to think that you're actually getting a good deal. And that's theft, and that's wrong.
Which everybody should have a problem with. I love technology. I don't want to fight it. I'm not a dinosaur, so I want to evolve with it, but not in a manner like that where it's misleading, where you're going to say, hey, this is a better, faster, cheaper way. And in the end, devil's in the details. No, it's not. It's actually 7.5% if you really dig into it.
Here's a real interesting thing. Anybody who's watching the show right now, I want you to do this. Just assume you're going to sell your house and you want to get an instant offer from Zillow, okay? How much are they going to charge you? Go try to find it. Go to your little Googler and try to find it. Seriously, go find it. Zillow has an FAQ with 35 questions on there for people who are thinking about selling their house to Zillow, and nowhere in the answer on any of those 35 FAQs is 7%. Don't you find that strange? Isn't that the first thing you would want to know if you're selling your house? Yet in 35 questions on Zillow's site, they don't tell you anywhere. The only place I found Zillow charging 7% is in their quarterly reports that they are sharing with their investors on page 5.
Yep.
Do you find that a little peculiar? Because I do.
Yeah, of course. You said something a little bit ago that some of us know why, but consumers watching, and maybe some realtors and lenders don't know why, but you said there's 9 attorney law firms that have jumped on board.
Yeah.
Tell us why that is.
Because they're going to win. Because the United States housing market is a $26 trillion industry.
But who do they represent?
Representing. Okay, who are they representing?
Yeah,
they're representing the people who have sold their houses through real estate agents all across the country in every community over the past 3 years. Now, I want you to think about this. This is why the whole thing is a smear. Think about this. If you're a real estate agent, if you lose this lawsuit, your industry is going to change. In fact, we're already seeing it with your Northwest multiple listing system. It's going to change. It's happening in the next 2 or 3 months. Okay. Your brokers are going to have to pay a certain amount of money. Do they have it? Do they have that money? Your brand is going to have to pay it. Real estate agents might even have to pay a portion of this class action. Do you have any of that money? The answer is no. So if you lose, you lose. Now think about this. If you win the lawsuit where it's been proven that you aren't colluding, and you're not, if you win the lawsuit, guess what? You also lose, because the class action is being brought by the people that you've represented over the past 3 years, and the only thing they're going to see is you now screwed them twice.
Yeah.
So if you win, you lose. If you lose, you lose. And that's the whole idea behind this lawsuit. And that's why these multiple listing systems are going to follow the direction of the Northwest multiple listing system and change how you're being paid. I find it maddening that real estate agents' 5.08 commissions right now are being attacked, yet the cheaper, better alternative / really more expensive is just skating through. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We are doing a disservice to our communities. Real estate agents in NAR are doing a disservice to our communities by not fighting this thing and getting the word out about what's truly happening. Because if we take the alternative, these tech industry solutions to the problem, it's going to cost sellers in terms of what they're going to get for their house, and it's going to cost them in terms of what the fees are going to be. Yeah. And now also think about this one last point. There's a little town, Tucumcari or Kansas City or Topeka, little places in the Midwest. These towns don't have the type of industry that we have out here. So when an Open Door or a Zillow goes in there and purchases a house and they charge them 15% plus take some of their equity and a lower sales price, that money's going back to Seattle. That money's coming back to my hometown of San Francisco.
True. Good point.
We are strip mining these communities of their wealth. And if you looked at like what houses are going for in Seattle and San Francisco right now, I think they're probably the 2 biggest markets in the country. Yeah. The median sales price for a house in Seattle is going to be north of $1 million, and it's the same thing in San Francisco. Yeah. Why? Because we are strip mining communities of their wealth. When you work with a real estate agent, that agent, if they get 5%, my God, let's say 6%. I want a real estate agent to be greedy because as a seller, their fiduciary is to me, and I want them to sell my house for more money and make what they get. But the side benefit, the unintended benefit of selling with a real estate agent is they're going to take that commission. They're going to go to a coffee shop. They're going to go to a grocery store. They're going to go to a restaurant in that community and keep the wealth in the community.
Yeah. That's a great point. I love that. It's a great point because even though, let's say it's Keller Williams, it's a huge company, it's still an individual that's self-employed in a community, and it's a book that I love called Small is Beautiful, and it's just talking about the community. And you're right, all that money goes, to get the hairdresser or the barber, or the local restaurant. And if this continues to happen, and these giant companies out of who knows where, that money gets funneled into,
San Francisco and Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love that point. I mean, it's a genuine question I asked earlier. If NAR's doing something, I don't know about it. I'd love to know about it. I'm not saying that they're not. I just don't know about it. So if somebody knows, please put it in the chat log below because I haven't heard anything. I'm kind of scratching my head going, this is a big deal. Where are they at?
My business partner, Frank Garay, is actually a licensed real estate agent, okay? His wife sells real estate, so he, by extension, helping his wife, decided he was going to get licensed. And so, of course, he's a member of NAR. He's a member of CAR, the California Association of Realtors. And Frank follows everything that NAR sends out and CAR sends out. So we are seeing exactly what NAR is doing, and it amounts to absolutely nothing.
That's crazy.
Nothing. It's sad. It's pathetic. They're doing nothing. Keep in mind, NAR is also in this lawsuit as well.
Yeah.
I can't, like I said, I can't help but thinking, Ryan, this lawsuit, win or lose, the real estate agents lose. When we look at what's left in the vacuum of real estate agents losing their job with these tech companies, think about this. A real estate agent has their fiduciary to who? Their client, right?
Yep.
Now, we're going to replace the real estate agent with an Open Door and OfferPad or a Zillow. Who's their fiduciary to?
Yeah.
It's to their shareholders.
Yep.
It's literally the exact opposite. With a realtor, the fiduciary is to the client. With the disruptor, the fiduciary is to the shareholder. When you work with a realtor, the money stays in the community. When you work with one of these iBuying platforms, the money leaves your community. When you work with a real estate agent, they're going to try to get top dollar. When you work with an iBuying platform, they're going to try to give you as little as humanly possible. When you work with a realtor, it's cheaper. When you work with an iBuyer, it's more expensive. It's very binary. It's very binary. It is good and it is bad. It is literally that simple. And nobody is talking about this.
Yeah. I got a question for you. I want to distill down the Northwest MLS changes because I don't know that anybody else has changed anything yet. So this could be a preview of things to come for other MLSs. But then I want to ask you kind of a question about how realtors should respond and get in front of this. But I want to distill down for even consumers that are watching. So the changes to the Northwest MLS that were just made is the seller does not have to pay the broker's commission. The selling office commission will be posted publicly on all listings now. Buyer can negotiate the selling broker's commission with their broker. I think the fourth one is brokers are not required to show a home that does not have a posted selling commission. So all changes that may possibly come nationwide. Northwest MLS is the first that I know of. So are there any opportunities for realtors to get in front of this? Or is it just, doom and gloom and hang it up, call it a day?
So we put together, it's called, if you go to honestypetition.com, what we've done over here at the National Real Estate Post is we said, well, the Department of Justice is going to investigate real estate agents. And I don't know if agents know this. The Department of Justice, the DOJ, has subpoenaed all the records from CoreLogic to see exactly how you're showing properties on your listings. How do we know that? Because CoreLogic owns all the software from all the multiple listing systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you go to honestypetition.com, what we are saying over here is we're saying if you're going to investigate real estate agents for collusion and antitrust, then I think we should take that same magnifying glass and we should investigate the disruptors who are behind this lawsuit. Listen,
100%.
If realtors are colluding, investigate them. I get it.
Yep.
Go ahead and do it. I'm just saying, why don't we also investigate at the same time these disruptors? So what we're doing is we are sending a letter to all 50 states attorneys general saying investigate these guys as well, along with all the regulatory oversight agencies in real estate and lending saying, look, investigate the real estate agents, but investigate these guys too.
Right.
So one thing they can do is they can go ahead and advocate for their industry.
Yeah.
They can go ahead and sign the petition, share the message with their communities that working with a real estate agent is going to be the better, cheaper alternative than what's going to be offered up outside of it. That's what they need to do. It needs to be grassroots. The agents need to go out there and they need to advocate for their jobs and their industries and do it for the sake of your communities.
And if you're watching on National Real Estate Post, they have a link for us. We'll post a link in the chat log below that goes right to that petition. You said something I think is a good takeaway or a way to get in front of this is realtors really need to dig in and understand what's happening, which is what, National Real Estate Post and RE/Source are trying to do, get educated and get in front of this and get some collateral, video collateral. If you do a podcast, talk about what's happening, why it's happening, and why a consumer should still work with you in your local market versus some giant tech company out of Detroit or wherever. I think that's
it's Seattle and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. It's all Seattle. It's all San Francisco. It's not wherever. We know where they're at. And Ryan, listen, if any real estate agent wants, I actually put together a very simple PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to give to anybody who's watching this.
That's cool.
And what it does is it lays out exactly what a realtor does versus what these companies do. And here's the cool thing. For the past 6 months, I've had realtors, lenders, and appraisers sending me information on all of these companies. I don't have to make anything up. The PowerPoint presentation literally has the offers from Zillow, from OfferPad, from Open Door. It literally has the minutes from Zillow showing what they charge, the FAQ. And we built this PowerPoint presentation side by side so we can share with consumers what the true cost of not working with a real estate agent is.
Yep.
If anybody wants that, all they have to do is go on my Facebook page. It's just go to Mortgage Shots Kills, and over in the files, that PowerPoint presentation is there, along with a whole bunch of other marketing material that agents can have. And I'd recommend getting that presentation and sharing it at my boards, sharing it at my office, and sharing it in my community.
Love it. One last prediction. I'll let you go, man. I appreciate the time.
Sure.
So prediction/question for you. We were talking earlier. I think what I read, Realogy stock was down like 70% year over year. Now, does this disprove the concept? And is the Amazon machine and $5,000 credit that they're trying to throw out, is that big enough to overcome the huge downward spiral of the Realogy stock? Does it work basically in long, or does this all fall apart?
I kind of want to be diplomatic in my answer to this.
Yeah.
And I've looked at this a lot over the last couple of days, man. And all you have to do is go look at Realogy's stock over the last year. Just go look at it. If it was a ski slope, it would be a hard blue light diamond. If their stock was a Rocky movie, it'd be Rocky 3. I don't care what people say about Rocky 4. Dolph Lundgren was actually kind of cool. Rocky 3 was the bad one. What's happening right now with Realogy is it really shows I hate to say this because I know there's a bunch of great real estate agents who work in a bunch of great offices all around the country who work under the Realogy umbrella. But if you look at the stock, man, you can draw no other conclusion that this move to work with Amazon was done out of sheer desperation.
So it looks like
it really was. In fact, so what we saw Realogy stock get a 30% boost right after it was announced that they were going to be partnering with Amazon. And then the devil's always in the details.
Right. When
analysts started looking at what this deal looks like and how real estate agents are going to be floating the bill for the credit from Amazon, it's really a zero net game for them. And anything they gained, they have subsequently lost. It's not a good deal for Realogy. It's done out of desperation. It's done because, I hate to say it, but the powers that be at Realogy right now lack the type of creative and imaginative changes to stay up with the times, and aligning themselves with a tech company is a Hail Mary approach to a problem. And it was a absolutely, why don't we do this answer from Amazon? Why not? And here's the point. We keep looking at these tech industries and the moves that they're making as isolated events. It's not an isolated event. It's never been an isolated event. It's always by design. And what Realogy has allowed Amazon to do is to tip their foot into real estate, the $26 trillion housing market. This isn't the end for Amazon, my friends.
Right.
This is the beginning.
Right.
And if you don't think they're going to swallow Realogy and their brand and do things that are going to be, again, they're fiduciaries too, they're shareholders at Amazon. If you don't think that, I got a bridge I can sell you.
Right, exactly. Hey, man, I appreciate your time. It's been a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate what you and Frank do for the industry. And if you guys want to join the debate and the discussion, jump in the comment section below. We'll try to reply to as many as we can. And thanks again, Brian. We'll see you guys all next week.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Bye.